Hello, this is Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters, and here we are, yet again, with another review. Now, I'm going to be reviewing Biomutant. This is an in-depth review. There will be spoilers at the end of the video. I will mark that. So if you don't want spoilers, I will put a link in the video where you'll be able to skip that. But anyway, we'll get into the review in a little bit. So before we go any further, though, just for those of you who are new to the channel, my reviews are, how can I put this, structured a little bit differently than what you would see in other reviews. I don't go over, I don't do plot, gameplay, that type of stuff. Instead, my reviews are divided into three distinct categories. The good, which is comprised of what I liked about the game, what's good about it, things that I noticed that are positively linked to the title. The bad, issues that I had or have with the title. And the ugly, which are just kind of asides and little other tidbits that don't fit either good or bad. So without much ado, let's get into it after the cut with the good. So let's get into the good of this game first. So the thing you need to realize about this game is that it is a post-apocalyptic sandbox style game. The apocalypse, however, isn't like something you'd see in Fallout, where there was a nuclear fallout. The apocalypse in this game is an environmental apocalypse. Basically, the previous citizens of this world, due to capitalism, a company called Toxinol, produced so much waste that it irrevocably damaged the environment. The people who could got on spaceships and flew away. But as you go through the game, you'll discover corpses in certain places of people who weren't able to get on a spaceship and fly away, and you discover that this is basically a apocalyptic event. Okay, so with that being said, for plot wise, the general setting, your character is the son of this martial arts master who, essentially speaking, is constantly being attacked by this being called Lupa Lupin. Now, this game is divided up into mostly like these 5 tribes, each of which are mostly herbivorous / a little bit omnivorous, whereas your Lupa Lupin is an obligate carnivore. He has to eat meat. So you basically have these herbivores being chased down by this carnivore. There's more to the story than that. I will get into that during the spoiler section. But basically, your character is the son of that character. She is killed by Lupa Lupin, and your father is killed by Lupa Lupin as well, and you're left as an outcast. You eventually wind up leaving your home and going to the outside of this great barrier around the world of Biomutant. This safe space where this giant tree called the Tree of Life is situated. Tree of Life is this tree that essentially has the tree basically started to purify various parts of this wasteland, making it habitable. So the various 5 tribes have basically created their own little niche where they can live. Now, the overall gist of the game is that the Tree of Life has started to die because these 4 hideously mutated creatures have begun to feed off of the 4 main roots of the Tree of Life. And your character is like been tasked by one of the side characters in the game to essentially defeat these world eaters and keep them from devouring the Tree of Life. And that's the general gist of the game. You're just trying to prevent these things from killing everything. That's your big thing. Or not, because the game has kind of like the open way, closed fist thing from what was the name of that game? Jade Empire. Because there is, like, you have a light aura and a dark aura, and some of the tribes that you can join in the game, or some of the choices that you can make, are of dark alignment, which basically means that you can choose to not save the Tree of Life and just let it die. I haven't done that ending.
There's not much left of what we used to call our world.
I've pretty much just been sticking around with essentially playing the good guy, but you know, I might do a bad guy ending, if you will, a dark ending, a dark run of this game, if I feel like it. I don't like playing villains. But anyway, so that's the overall gist of the story. You do various side quests in a post-apocalyptic world, going through different biomes, like desert, toxic, radioactive, really cold, oxygen-deprived biomes, and you face off against various enemies. You do side quests, you go into little mini dungeons. Basically, this game takes the concept of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but gets rid of the whole item management concept where, oh shit, my weapons can break in the middle of a fight. And, you know, just like minor quality of life improvements that if Breath of the Wild 2 had, I would be happy about. For example, you have mounts in this game. Your mounts cannot die. Also, your mounts can ride, can swim. So you can cross rivers and streams, deep rivers and streams, no problem. You have a ton of mounts that you can summon up at any given time. You're not restricted to a particular type or a particular amount. So that's kind of cool. Now, let's get into some of the things that I like about this game. Like I said previously, there's a lot of little things in this game that make it pretty good. It does some things that I really wish Breath of the Wild would have done. For one thing, you actually have dungeons in this game. You have locations that feel like dungeons. Now, they're small, some of them. You know, they're kind of smaller scale dungeons, but they're dungeons. You actually find specific items that let you traverse the area. Like, you get a clonk fist, which lets you break open certain walls. You can upgrade it to break open even tougher walls. You get a early on in the game, you get a
Feels lonely here. Even the
crowbar, which they call a cronk bar, which basically lets you break open things, and you can upgrade it to level 2 so it can open up more difficult to open containers. You can see in the video me opening up that yellow container with the crowbar. Yeah, the level 1 crowbar can't open that. The level 2 crowbar can. So there's a sense of progression, and you go into areas, you find items. You get vehicles in the game that some of which are how can I put this? Region specific. Like, you can only use the mech ton in the Deadlands, which is a oxygen deprived environment. You can only use the watercraft, the gloop right, the gloop, well, it's basically a jet ski. The jet ski in the area that is particularly, how can I put this, in the area where you get it. But there's other mounts that you can use anywhere. You can summon anywhere as long as certain conditions are met. Like you get a mutated whale fish thing that you can get your hands on in the game, and you can ride that shit, and it actually is faster than the Gloop Guide. Like, it's insanely fast. And you know, there's a side quest associated with getting it, but it's one of the best vehicles in the game. But with that being said, you know, there's an airship, which you saw earlier on in this video. It's really a hot air balloon, but basically it's an airship. So, I mean, there's just a lot of little things in this game that there's a lot of vehicles, and most of them, aside from the mounted, like more traditional horseback mounts, are pretty different from one another. You also get kind of like special backpack attachments that, you know, increase your upper jump, your jumping ability. There's just a lot of small things in this game that make it very enjoyable to play. And then we have the combat. Now, combat in this game is divided into two distinct styles of attack: close range and long range. Close range are basically, you know, your more traditional one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, crushing weapons, which can be one-handed or two-handed, like blunt weapons like baseball bats, hammers, maces. And, you know, all those weapons have a weight class, which determines how quickly you can attack with them. So some of them are, like, heavy, and so when you swing with them, there's a delay. It takes a while for you to wind up. Other weapons are very, very responsive, so those are lighter weapons. Some are kind of in between medium. You can dual wield with your single-handed weapons, so you can have two-handed weapons, which is pretty cool. Dual wielding is always fun in any game. There we go with the Clonk Fist. As you can see, I'm using it to break into this place. Now, there were multiple ways in here, but, you know, if I hadn't seen that place and I'd just gone with this, could have gotten in there. So, essentially, back to the weapons. Some of the tools that you get in the game, like the Clonk Fist, which can be used to break open doors, can also be used as a weapon. As a weapon, it's kind of slow, so I tend to like, when I'm using close range combat, I tend to like to use dual wield weapons. Now, with that being said, there's also long range weapons. In this case, guns. Now, each of the 5 tribes also have specialty tribal weapons. In the first playthrough, you're going to get the myriad boomerang, and then by taking on the opposite tribe, you get your hands on the Jagni staff. And then the third people you go after, you'll get, if I remember correctly, a grapple gun, which is kind of an interesting weapon. Now, I have started New Game Plus mode where I've just gone after a different group entirely, and I'm okay with that. Like, I like doing different things. But basically, the weapons and how you attack also is greatly influenced by what the weapons are made out of. There are some weapons that you find in the game, but mostly you're going to be creating your weapons, crafting them, by finding bits and pieces of scrap like wood, plastic, metal, stuff like that, and you can combine those together in order to, with various bits and pieces, in order to create better weapons. So, for example, like a gun has a base, a gun has the actual chamber and then a handle. And that's all you need for a gun, and the muzzle. But you can add other attachments to that basically change up how that weapon performs or boost the stats. So weapons can also have attributes like stuff like split, which makes it go through a dude, and as it goes through a dude, it does extra damage. You can have weapons that, like, every fourth shot fires a homing missile. You can have weapons that fire that the bullets hit and then explode, doing extra damage. There's just a lot of stuff. There's 4 different types of weapons in the game. There's handguns, rifles, assault rifles, and shotguns. And that's not also including specialty tribal weapons that don't really fall into any of those categories.
What's your choice? Dying?
So, essentially, there's a lot of variety. Another good thing in the game is if you don't want to go down the weapon path, you have martial arts, barehanded fighting, wushu type stuff, which is a martial arts within the in universe within the game that your mother created and was a master of, and she taught you. So essentially, you've come back in order to your character has come back in order to avenge the death of your mother by Lupa Lupin, save or destroy the Tree of Life. You can also help out in the tribe wars with the different tribes are trying to take over, and determine who is going to lead everything in the world they're trying to build. The choice is yours. All right. But, that's it. The various vehicles and, along with the various vehicles and the different weapons and all that type of stuff, this game has a lot of loot that you collect. And bits and pieces of scrap and bits and pieces. So, the most important thing to realize in this game is this. After all that has been said and done. The game is fairly well made. It's not perfect, and I'll get into that when I get to the next section where I'll go over the bad. But overall, the game is pretty well made. It's not too buggy. I think I only had the game crash like once. And I don't think that was a game issue. I think that was a memory issue, because at the time I think I was trying to render a video at the same time, and I just didn't have enough memory, so the game crashed. But with that being said, those are the goods. The story is relatively decent. There's a twist in the story that I'm not going to spoil until I get to the spoiler section. But with that being said, that's the good. Let's get to the bad after the cut. Alright, so now we get to the bad. Now, the bad is going to be, it's not going to be too long of a section. I'll get over the major bad parts about this game, and then the minor bad parts about this game. The first major thing that's bad, that's kind of not a good thing about this game, is the story kind of ends abruptly. The game just sort of ends. When the game begins, it's like, you have to save the Tree of Life. You have to save the Tree of Life. And you think there's going to be some epic twist at the end. It's going to, you're gonna get these people on the ark and do something amazing. And then it kind of morphs into a tale of personal revenge at the end. It's kind of like, okay, I don't see where you're going with this. Like, it's one of the issues of the title, is that there's just a lot of, like, I didn't see that coming. That's it. So the game starts out as it's going to be this epic journey, and you do kind of go on an epic journey, but then the end kind of lands like a wet fart a little bit. Not a lot, because the final boss fight is pretty interesting, but it's just like, this could have been a little bit tighter. The other bad thing about the game, and this was an issue early on. It's kind of been fixed now, but one of the issues with this game is that
And you still haven't fallen to your death.
you get some really cool vehicles in the game, but you can only use them in certain places. And I know this would have sequence broke some areas in the game, so that's why they just kind of left some things to be, in certain areas. I get that, but man, would it have been cool if you could have, once you unlocked a vehicle, you could have, once you defeat the World Eater, that vehicle, you needed that vehicle in order to deal with, you could use it anywhere. Too much to ask, because it would have broken the sequence for a lot of places, but still would have been really cool. Just in my own personal opinion. Another bad thing about this game is the loot in the beginning of the game is kind of a little on the shitty side. It's a little on the shitty side. Just saying, it's a little shit. The loot is a little shit in the beginning of the game. It's not very interesting or good. And that's not cool. Because, this game is very much built around you basically finding better shit or buying better shit so you can essentially make better weapons so that you can take on tougher foes, etc., etc., etc. Some of the weapons are too powerful, like guns. Like, in the beginning of the game, guns kind of suck, by and large. Then you hit the mid-tier point of this game where guns start to outpace melee weapons. And then by the end of the game, you'll get access to some guns that are like, yeah, I'm not even going to get in close to this guy. I'm just going to pull out a gun and blow him away. Bust a cap in his ass. Which is, it's a little imbalance in that regard. That being said, there are some cool shit. There are some minor issues with the game. The minor issue that I have with the game is, aside from your aura, aside from giving you access to certain psychic attacks, really has no function in the game. It doesn't really change how, it changes how some characters treat you, but if you're trying to go for something, you're going to get it anyway. It's kind of weird like that. The game's just kind of weird like that. It's like, the aura seems like it's going to be a cool thing, but then it just gets kind of weird. Another weird thing that happens in this game where I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of not working for me, is throughout the game, sometimes a few quests will get bugged. Now, I think they fixed that in the latest patch, but when I recorded this, it hadn't been fixed yet. So, stuff like that. So that's just one of those small things where I'm just like, okay, this could have been a lot better. I have a small issue with this one thing. Another minor issue in the game is a lot of the settlements feel very samey. And that's not good. You need to have, you need to have some variety in your settlements, and that's kind of a downside of the title, is you just, your settlements kind of just feel very samey. Also, you don't and this is just a minor thing, your main character should have a home in the game that you can use to store extra loot or items or weapons that you're not going to carry with you. I think that was a missed opportunity for the title. So with that being said, let's get to the ugly after the cut. So here we go with the ugly. The ugly of this game is that I don't know what the sales numbers were, but I hope this game sold well enough to get a sequel. Because, spoiler warning, the end of the game ends with a major setup for a sequel, where your characters basically get on an arc and fly away to go discover where everyone else went, and find new life, new civilizations, that type of thing. And this game is good enough to where I would really like to see a sequel. You know, I'm not saying that just to be ironic. It would be nice to have a sequel to this title. I said earlier that the game just kind of sort of just abruptly ends. It starts with this epic journey to save the Tree of Life, and then it turns into a personal revenge story. Well, it turns out that your character's mother murdered Lupa Lupin's mother because she was an obligate carnivore. And so Lupa Lupin grew up hating you and your mother, and now he's like, look, I'm gonna kill you, your mother, burn down your house, kill your father, leave you an orphan, and then just so that you can feel what I feel. And it's kind of fucked up. You know, it's like, god damn, dude. Kind of fucked up, and you know, you're given a choice to kill Lupa Lupin at the very end of the game, or end the cycle of killing carnivores, of revenge, and murdering the shit out of carnivores. I personally chose to end the cycle, because this all began because they felt that herbivores and carnivores can't live together. But the thing is that you need carnivores, you need herbivores, you need omnivores, you need everything. So with that being said, that's the end of the spoilers right there. So that leads to the next, the rest of the ugly, which is, like I said, this game, for me, this is the Legend of Zelda game I wish that I had from Breath of the Wild. You know, a lot of exploration, weapons not breaking in the middle of a fucking fight. And I didn't get that in Breath of the Wild. But this kind of scratches that itch. So for me, this is better than Breath of the Wild. Plus, this game looks gorgeous. It's using Unreal Engine 5. The hair textures on the animals is amazing. It's not like Pixar level or anything, but it does look pretty goddamn good. So I like it. Let me gather my thoughts. So basically, overall, I would say that this game, you know, the music is very atmospheric. You know, it's like, it's atmospheric, and it gives you clues on what's going on. It's not like, oh, this is really great music. But because this is a new IP and not something established, it doesn't have any iconic scores. So, you know, it is what it is. This game is, music, however, is very much akin to like a wushu, kung fu type of journey, epic feel to it. Which, I mean, you know, some people like, some people don't like. You know, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It gets the job done. But with that being said, we'll get to my overall thoughts after the cut. So now we get to my overall thoughts about the game. Overall, the game is pretty good. I've been enjoying it. You know, this game scratches the itch of being a genuinely good game and also a pretty good time waster. You know, you waste your time and you play the game for a while, but you don't feel like you didn't accomplish anything.
And for as
So-
long as it's different, says he never had as much. Boom is happy. You're
I'm okay with that. So overall, I would say this game is a buy it, but if it's on sale. Now, I bought it at launch, but I didn't pay $60 for it. I paid $50 through Amazon. So, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, if you don't want to do that, good for you. So overall, game's pretty good. I've been enjoying it. If you want to play a game that scratches that Fallout, Breath of the Wild itch without having the weaknesses of Fallout and Breath of the Wild, here you go. That being said, that's the end of this video. Rate, comment, share, and subscribe. We have a podcast every Wednesday and Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The BS Buster podcast. Wednesdays, we talk about general topics. Saturday, we do news of the week, all that type of stuff. So that's the end of this video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night, good day, whatever time you're watching this. Have a nice day. Enjoy, stay safe, and so long. Till next time.